so that we can have an idea of prevalent organism in our setting. Uh, like we have, uh, whenever there is a urinary tract infection, the first suspected organism is uh, Escherichia coli. Second to that is Klebsiella pneumoniae. So if that that fact we know because we have the record of what type of organism is causing the disease, and we have the epidemiological studies, so that we can say in our setting if any kind of infection is there, any kind of urinary tract infection is there, then most prevalent organism is E. coli. That's why our empirical therapy till we identify the organism is targeted to E. coli. So that is the very important point, a very important uh, clinical implication of identifying the bacteria. So we can say clinical implication, we can say epidemiological implication. At the same time, we can see or we can make the prognosis. Now, how to identify the bacteria? There are few basic points regarding identifying the bacteria. Like the first and very important point is phenotypic properties, then serology, then genotyping or molecular testing. Now here, while saying phenotypic properties, you have to understand that phenotype is some of the feature that is expressed outside, that is visible. A bacteria makes allo colony, a bacteria makes uh, rough colony or smooth colony. That is the phenotypic property. A bacteria cannot utilize glucose. A bacteria can ferment lactose, cannot ferment lactose. These all are the phenotypic properties that we can see. Other than that is the the shape of the cell, bacterial cell, the size of the bacterial cell, arrangement, how they are arranging in a pair or in a single or in a cluster or in a chain. That also short chain, long chain. They are the phenotypic properties, and they are specific for specific bacteria. Like when we see round round shaped bacteria that is purple in color in gram stain, and they are bonds like in structure or they are in group, then we have to say that must be, or most of the time that is Staphylococcus not other than anything. So these will guide us to identify the organism. Similarly, gram stain reaction and acid fast staining, these are a different type of staining uh, that you have already done. Both you have already done, so you know better about gram stain and acid fast stain. Similarly, special structures like endospore granules capsule demonstration, and we can demonstrate by special staining. We can demonstrate in endospore, we can demonstrate granules, intercytoplasmic granules, we can demonstrate capsules by special staining, and they are again specific to particular bacteria. When we see endospore forming bacteria, our provisional identification becomes very short. When we see intracellular granules, our uh, special staining, then our provisional diagnosis become very short. Similarly, when we see capsulated bacteria, when we are able to demonstrate capsulated bacteria, then our identification becomes very short. Like when it says endospore forming bacteria, most of the bacteria are gram positive bacilli only. Similarly, granules, if we are able to show granules in gram-positive bacilli which are cuneiform in arrangement, then it is nothing other than Corynebacterium diphtheria and some other species of Corynebacterium. Similarly, capsulated bacteria, if gram-negative, then most of the time it is Klebsiella only. In sometime it can be Acinetobacter. Otherwise, we cannot list more than that. We can list 5, 6, not more than that, which are common in our clinical practice. Similarly, if we see gram-positive cocci arranged in pair with capsule, then most probably it is Streptococcus pneumoniae only. Later, we need to confirm by other process, but it is pneumonia only. Other than that is cultural characteristic. Now here you have to understand bacteria we can grow in artificial media with some exception. But most common organism that are causing the disease to human beings are culturable, And cultural characteristics are specific for specific bacteria. Like E. coli, Klebsiella, both are gram-negative bacilli, both belongs to Enterobacteriaceae family, but their cultural characteristic is different. One will form lactose fermenting moist colonies. E. coli will form in Macankey moist colony lactose fermenting, while Klebsiella will form comparatively bigger colonies, and they are mucoid in nature. They look like jelly, mucoid in nature. Similarly, Streptococcus pneumoniae, they make very peculiar dot fan shaped colonies. We'll see the pictures later. So here you have to understand that cultural characteristic is also unique for different bacteria and biochemical properties. Here, if what we are checking is whether the organism bacteria is able to ferment any of the sugar. That could be monosaccharide, that could be disaccharide, or that could be polysaccharide. Where see the panel which all sugar it can ferment, and again which all sugar it can ferment oxidatively in presence of oxygen, and that we don't say ferment, we say utilize, and which all sugar they can ferment in anaerobic condition, that we can see. Similarly, which are amino acid they are able to utilize and which all they cannot. These all see for different organism, and the fermentation pattern of sugars, utilization pattern of amino acid is different for different bacteria. And beside that, we can again see on biochemical properties what all enzyme they are producing, whether they are able to produce urease enzyme, whether they are able to produce coagulase, this kind of things we can check. So these all are biochemical properties, and these are kept under phenotypic properties because these things are distinguished by seeing. And second thing we do is serology. In serology, here you have to understand is bacteria are antigenically mosaic. That means a bacteria can have more than one antigen. Again, they will be having plenty of proteins, plenty of carbohydrates, plenty of things inside it. Again, these proteins, these lipids, these all are antigenically mosaic. Again, that means in a protein there can be different epitopes, different epitopes that can be recognized by our body. So these antigen are unique to unique bacteria. Now here you have to, what you have to understand is sometimes antigen are shared in a similar bacteria. Sometimes they are unique. Again, that also we need to find out which antigen is unique, which one is shared. So if we are able to find out unique antigen to particular bacteria, then we can identify the organism. Similarly, antibodies are formed our body against the antigen. Antigen will be presented in our body, then antibodies are formed by our body. Immune system has mechanism to it that we have already discussed in earlier classes. And I told you antigen is unique, so antibodies formed are also very specific to particular antigen. So if we are able to identify a particular antibodies, then also we can identify the organism. Now, making it simple, in a serology, in a different serological test, we test for antigen, we test for antibodies. Again, antigen, when we are using to identify the organism, we look for unique antigen, not a common antigen. And antibodies, when we are using it to identify the organism, then we are looking for antibodies against that unique antigen, so that by demonstrating the antibodies also we can identify the organism. So that is the basis of serology. Under serology, plenty of tests are there that you have discussed earlier in first year only. So any queries you can write me back regarding serological test that we can discuss later. So that is the basis of serology. Now third point is genotyping or molecular testing. Now remember, some persons are black, some are white, some can move fast. There's plenty of properties individual have in human. They are characterized by, or they are governed by, individual gene. For each characters, there are genes responsible. Similarly, for the bacteria also, we have seen plenty of properties they have, like cell shape, size, arrangement, staining characteristics, whether production of endospore or production of having the granules inside in the cytoplasm, or production of capsule. Similarly, cultural features. Similarly, ability to ferment sugars, utilize amino acid, produce particular enzymes. These are these properties are governed by a particular set of genes. Similarly, serology also, we told unique antigen are there. That antigen are either protein or lipid or anything it can be. So again, that is governed by gene. Now, if we see the gene that is coding for unique antigen, that gene is unique to particular bacteria, because that antigen is not shared to any other bacteria. That means the sequence of gene for that to code that antigen is also unique. So if we are able to identify that unique gene, then we have identified the organism. Now, if we see the sensitivity and specificity of this test, PCR or molecular testing, genotyping, and I told you PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction, they are used synonymously, and that is the most specific and most sensitive method for detecting the organism. We're directly detecting the unique gene present on its chromosome or present in its nuclear material. So here you have to remember 3 points: phenotypic properties, serology, genotyping, or molecular testing, or PCR. They are used synonymously. And in the laboratory, in the class, we are talking only about phenotypic properties. In a clinical setting, after you start clinical practice, at the time you'll be dealing with serological test, you will be dealing with PCR also based on need. But right now we are talking only on phenotypic properties. But still, any queries regarding serology and genotyping, feel free to discuss with me. So we'll go to another slide. Now we are going to phenotypic properties for identification of bacteria. If you remember, just now I told you in phenotypic properties we deal with the colony morphology. How bacteria after forming colony will look like: gram staining and biochemical test. And here in staining, not only gram staining, we can go for Zn staining, or we can go for any other special staining to stain intracytoplasmic granules or flagella, anything we can go for. And biochemical test. Any queries till now? Otherwise, we'll progress to another heading. We'll go to column morphology. Okay, I guess no queries. I told you different bacteria, they have different macroscopic features. Now here you need to understand what is colony. When we culture organism in a culture plate, in a cultural media, that could be blood agar, that could be Macankey agar, that could be any other agar. At that time, they will form visible structure that we say colony. A colony is derived from single bacterium, and after keeping 24 hours or overnight, sometimes some bacteria grow very slowly. They may take 1 week. They will form the visible structure that we say colony, and that colony will contain millions of bacteria. That means one bacteria will multiply to form million bacteria, and that is visible on culture media as a colony. We'll see the picture of the colony later. And colony are specific for specific organism. Some colony are very much elevated, some are flat, some are depressed inside. Some colony look very rough, some look very mucoid, some look moist. Some colony will give the color, that property of individual bacteria. So colonies are specific to specific organism. Only thing is one has to have an idea regarding which bacteria gives which type of colony and how to recognize it. Colony sometimes cannot be identifying feature because colonial characteristic are sometimes overlapping with in a different group of bacteria. So it gives a clue to identify the organism. Not it cannot be used to say as a confirmatory test to say the organism. So it gives the clue only. Like Streptococci colonies, they will make small colonies which are mucoid. Similarly, if they are cultured in blood agar, they will give alpha hemolysis. They are specific to Streptococci and they will make Draught-Man shape colonies. We'll talk about this later. Gram-negative bacilli, if they are producing capsule, they will make mucoid colonies. If they are not producing capsule, they will make moist colonies. Similarly, colony of E. coli, colony of Klebsiella are different. Colony of Citrobacter is slightly different. Colony of Serratia mercescens, they will make red pigmented colonies. Pseudomonas aeruginosa can make dry colonies, can make mucoid colonies, can make moist colonies. Again, depending upon the variant, some will make small colonies, some will make big colonies. Sometimes they will produce capsule and they will make mucoid colonies, and some will produce pigments. At the time they may look greenish, they may look bluish, they may look yellowish. So these are the specific feature to particular bacteria. So here you have to understand is colony morphology is specific to different type of organism. Specific to different type of organism. There is certain range of overlapping between the organism. That's why sole colony morphology cannot be used to identify the organism. It is one of the adjunct, one of the additional point to identify the organism. See here, I think you are able to see my, just wait, a laser pointer. This one is E. coli and Mackenkie agar. They are lactose fermenting, that's why they are pink in color. Here you can see another colonies. On one side it is yellowish or pale color, on another it is pink in color. So in Mackenkie, if the organism is fermenting lactose, they form pink colonies. If they are unable to ferment lactose, then they will form pale colonies. I hope you know, you read about Mackenkie agar. You know the role of indicator and role of acidic nature and basic nature because of lactose fermentation and lactose non-fermentation, and that is the basis of this different type of color. That is already been taught, that's why I'm not going on depth on it. So lactose fermenting colonies are E. coli, Klebsiella, Citrobacter, Enterobacter, they can be. While lactose non-fermenting colonies can be Salmonella, Shigella, Vibrio, Pseudomonas, Proteus. Okay, so we'll go to next picture. Here you can see alpha hemolytic. I told you Streptococcus pneumoniae will partially lyse the RBC, and they will make greenish zone around their colonies. They can change the media color. It is Streptococcus pneumoniae, and the change that we can see is because of partial hemolysis of RBC. That's why it is, we call it as a alpha hemolysis in this picture. And one more point you can observe here is it is very mucoid. because the organism is producing capsule, that's why it look mucoid. If Streptococcus pneumoniae is not producing mucoid, then it may look as a rough colonies. On the picture you can see complete hemolysis. You can see colonies. Picture is not clear, that's why we cannot say whether it is moist or how it is, but you can see colonies around it. It is halo, complete halo, and you can see the red colored media. It is the blood agar. It is also blood agar. This is also blood agar, and changes here you are observing is it is the beta hemolysis. So here in cultural characteristics, what I am trying to show is they can change the color of media because of their hemolytic properties, and based on that we can identify the organism. When we see excuse me, when we see alpha hemolysis, then it can be Streptococcus pneumoniae, it can be all the streptococci except certain beta hemolytic streptococci, or if we say precisely, it could be Streptococcus pneumoniae, it could be Streptococcus mutans, it could be Streptococcus salivarius, sometimes it could be Enterococcus. These are the possibilities. Here if we see the colonies in a blood agar that is giving clear halo or beta hemolytic, then it could be beta hemolytic streptococci, it could be Staphylococcus aureus or any other bacteria with beta hemolytic property. Sometime even Pseudomonas can give beta hemolytic property. So this is how we can use cultural characteristic to identify the organism. Similarly, colony morphology. See this picture. This is round. Here the margin is very irregular. It is more than irregular. That's what we are saying filamentous. Sometimes certain bacteria will form root-like structure around the margin. So that margin can be divided into circular, first picture, irregular, filamentous, rhizoid. If you see the book, you can see more than that, but these are the basic differences. We'll see some other pictures for color morphology later. But remember, these are the individual colony: 1 colony, 2 colony, 3 colony, 4 colony, 5, 6 colony, 7, 8 colony. So when we are seeing the colony morphology, we need to see individual colony, not in a bunch. Here in this area, if we have to describe the colony morphology, then we have to see this kind of separate colonies. You can see here separate colonies, 1, 2, 3. But if you see the group, then you cannot say whether they are regular or irregular. We cannot say anything. So while saying the colony morphology, we need to see individual or separate colonies. See here, this is entire round or circular colony. Here that regularity is lost, irregular. Here Serratia marcescens, they have the regular colonies and they have produced the pigment, and that is protegiocin, a red color pigment. That's why it is looking red. Similarly, in pigment also, some bacteria will produce pigment that is soluble in water. That's why they have the ability to change whole media color. Like Pseudomonas aeruginosa, if it is producing blue color, then it is change the media also. But it doesn't happen to Staphylococcus aureus, doesn't happen to Serratia, because they are not water soluble. So that's why they won't diffuse on the media. Here you can see very tiny colonies. Here again you can see the surface structure very rough. Here you can see a medium-sized colony that looks mucoid because it is a bit shiny. Okay. One more point for the identification bacteria is pigment. We have already discussed. Pigment are either soluble or insoluble. Here you can see Staphylococcus aureus, they are producing beta carotenoid pigment. That's why they are yellowish in color. As exception, we may get a not yellowish color, but usually they produce yellowish color colony, and that pigment is not soluble in water. That's why they are not changing the color of media. Similarly for Microcopes roseus, they are producing rose color or pink colored pigment, but insoluble in water. That's why media color is not changed. Similarly for Microcopes luteus, they will produce yellowish in color, not soluble in water. Again, in change in media, we can see hemolysin, we can see lactose fermentation that we have already discussed, alpha hemolytic, beta hemolytic, and gamma hemolysis. And gamma hemolysis earlier we haven't discussed. It is just a misnomer. Though we say gamma hemolysis, there is no hemolysis at all. So gamma hemolysis is no hemolysis, misnomer simply. This alpha hemolysis, partial hemolysis, and in blood agar, the changes around the colony will be greenish in color. In case of beta hemolysis, the changes around the colony will be clear yellow. Here you can see different bacteria. They are producing different types of color. This picture I have taken from agar art competition. Because of this pigment production, people use to make a different type of shape. You can Google just by typing agar art, where people have made a very beautiful picture by using bacteria and its coloring property. Very amazing pictures they make. So here these pictures, you just need to recognize that different bacteria, they will be having different properties, and they can be used for this kind of creative activities. Colony description, we can describe colony in relation to size, in relation to surface, and in relation to texture. And listen, size is a relative thing. Everyone becomes very small when he or she is compared with Kali. Very simple. It's a relative thing. So size, whenever we are saying, do not say big, small, or tiny. Just say in millimeter. We have the tendency, or somewhere you can see saying small colony, tiny colony, big colony. But when that big colony is compared with another bigger colony, then again it becomes a small colony. So that is the relative thing. So whenever you are writing in your examination somewhere regarding size of the colony, make a habit to write diameter, the diameter of the colony approximately 1 to 2 millimeter, less than 1 millimeter for the tiny colonies. 2 to 3 millimeter, more than 3 millimeter, 3 to 5 millimeter. That kind of habit you have to make. Mention the diameter of size instead of saying big, small, or medium colonies. Surface. We have seen earlier some surface were rough, some are wrinkled, some are glistening. Again, we'll be seeing the picture later. So if organism is rough, then our identification becomes a particular state of organism. If organism is wrinkled, then we have particular state of organism that produce the wrinkle colonies. So this surface we need to identify, and we need to say whether they are rough, or they are wrinkled, or they are moist, or they are mucoid, or glistening. That we have to make. Texture. What is the texture of colonies? You can say whether they are dry, or they are moist, they are mucoid, or they are brittle, they are viscous, or they are butyrous. That kind of habit that we can just say just by tossing the colony. So these are the description. Here you can see, again I have written small colonies, but do not get confused. While you are saying, you have to make a habit to write what is the approximate diameter. Here in the picture we cannot say what is the diameter of colony, because if picture is taken from near, then the diameter looks bigger, otherwise it looks smaller. That's why I have simply said small colonies. I haven't mentioned the diameter. Pigment is there, red pigment, and it is round. The margin is round and entire. That means it is regular and opaque. No light will transfer from here to one side to on the side. Similarly, here you can see very bigger colonies, but better when you are seeing the actual colonies in a culture plate. At the time you have to make what is the diameter, approximately 3 to 5 millimeter, or what is that. Opaque, whether light is transferring or not. Round and entire, that we can see over here. Beyond that, we can see the elevation. Some bacteria will produce flat colonies, some bacteria will produce raised colonies, some bacteria will make convex colonies, some bacteria will make umbonate colonies, some bacteria will make, instead of umbonate, here it will be down. We say it as a Dorfman colonies, or colonies like carom coins. And margin and form we have already discussed. This is just a repetition of what we have discussed earlier. Different colony size and margins. Now see here, the edge of this colony, they are filamentous. They are going in multiple rhizoids, in the form of rhizoids. So they are filamentous, margins are irregular, and no light is transferring, that's why it is opaque. Here you can see the colonies are very tiny. They are yellow in pigment. They are round, again light is not passing, that's why they are opaque. This punctiform term is used for tiny colonies only, which are around 1 or less than 1 millimeter in diameter. This picture we have already seen, flat, raised, umbonate, and crateriform that I told you, Dorfman-shaped colonies. We'll see the picture later. Dorfman appearance. Around in 48 hours of incubation, Streptococcus pneumoniae will give the Dorfman-shaped colonies. This Streptococcus pneumoniae, earlier they will form raised colonies. They have the very specific feature. That's why the organisms at the center will die and crater will form like this. So this type of colonies are there. At the edge they are increased, so they will look like carom coins. That's why sometimes is used as a carom coins also. So these are the Dorfman shaped colonies. Here also you can see they are round, crateriform or Dorfman shaped, and they are translucent. Light is not passing. Similarly here, they are look like very tenacious colonies. That's why we use the term as a Wuffy. Okay, irregular, undulate, and opaque. This describes the margin, and opacity describes the light is transferring or not. Here you can see pigment is orange, margin is round and entire, and light is not passing, it is opaque. But here you can see light is passing, pigment is brown, and the margin is again irregular. See here, individual colonies, they are irregular, and light is passed very less. That's why we call them as not transparent but translucent. Very less of light is passed. Transparent, translucent, and opaque. That's the 3 different terms. So these are translucent. Margin, we have already seen the pictures. Now here different types of margin, different types of surface also. Again, these are rough. Margin is very irregular. Here you can see rough colonies, and again you can see wrinkles at the center. Here also rough and wrinkles at the center. Margin is not regular, or margin is not clear. You can see rhizose types of margin. These things are specific for specific bacteria. So just remember different types of margin are there, and you should be able to define for a particular set of organism that we teach you during the class. This is just a summary of what we have discussed. Is the margin of the colony that we can see either by if big colony by naked eye, otherwise we need to use magnifying glass. Color or pigment produced. Again, pigment produced, we can see the differences, whether they are water soluble or not. That I told you, Pseudomonas, they produce water soluble colonies, but in between we have seen some pictures like Serratia marcescens, Staphylococcus aureus, Micrococcus roseus, luteus. They are producing non-soluble pigment, non-water soluble pigment. And water soluble pigment are seen diffused in media. They are changing the color of whole media, while water non-soluble pigment, they will just make a pigment that organism pigmented, not the media. Opacity, transparent, opaque, and translucent. Forget about iridescent, that you don't use over here. Just remember transparent, translucent, and opaque. Elevation, that we have already seen. Elevated, not elevated, or elevated, flat, ambonate, crateriform, that we have already seen in the picture. Surface, smooth, glistening, dull, rugose, that is wrinkle, that we have already seen. And consistency, that we can see by touching it, whether they are butyrous, or they are viscid, or they are mucoid, or they are very brittle. Some bacteria produce very brittle colonies. If you touch it, they will break. So here you can see different types of colony in a single plate, and uh, they are again, to make it easy, they are colored by different colors. They're surrounded by different colors. So you can see later, after this file is uploaded, you can see it. Okay, now we have discussed regarding cultural characteristics. So you have any queries here till now? Okay, I guess no. So we'll continue. Identification of the bacteria. Now we are going to staining part. One very important thing we do is gram stain. Another is Geran staining, and rest are special staining that we do to demonstrate flagella, to demonstrate capsule, to demonstrate cytoplasmic inclusions. So gram stain, you have already done it. You have already gone through it, passed it. So no need to discuss. But here you should always be able to tell what is the clinical significance of gram stain. Why we are worried about gram stain a lot? And I told you, gram stain is the first must and very important staining that we do, not only for organism that comes in a growth, but also from the sample, clinical samples also. First thing we do is gram stain. It has a very important role in identification, very important role in clinical management. So you should be able to justify what is the clinical importance of gram stain. That's your job, to justify it, and that will be asked even in second year at any time in the examination. And again, that will be used in clinical practice. On the first day, if you send CSF, if you send sputum, if you send any pleural fluid, you may ask for gram stain on the first day only, because culture may take 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours to manage the patient. So you should know what is the clinical significance. Then find out, it's your job. See here, in gram stain, we can see one is color, whether they are gram positive, whether they are gram negative. Another is shape. Some are rod shaped, some are round. And arrangement. Some are in pair, some are in group. So gram stain can be used to see the color, gram properties, to see the shape, and to see the arrangement. And again, gram staining, shape, size, arrangement are specific for a specific group of bacteria. So these are one of the important points to identify the organism. Phenotypic characteristics. Under, again, we are now in microscopy. That I told you just now, gram staining. So in gram staining, we can, just now we have seen, we can see the arrangement also. We can see diplococci, gram negative diplococci, then it could be Neisseria. It could be meningitis, or it could be Neisseria, gonorrhea. Similarly, sometimes we can see gram positive cocci in chain. Then it could be Streptococcus salivarius, Streptococcus mutans, beta hemorrhagic streptococci. Sometimes we may see gram positive cocci in a short chain, or mostly predominantly in a pair. Then it could be Streptococcus pneumoniae, or it could be enterococci. Similarly, shape is also different for Enterococci and Staphylococcus pneumoniae. If they are gram positive and they are in a cluster, then it may be because it may be Staphylococcus aureus. Sometimes they might be in a cluster of 8. So these are, again, here you have to remember, is peculiar for different organism. So you need to identify, you should be able to tell which organism has what kind of gram property, what is the shape, and what is the peculiar arrangement associated with it. So till now we have discussed cultural characteristics and staining characteristics. So now we are going to biochemical properties. In biochemical properties, there are hundreds of biochemicals that we can incorporate in identification of organism. But in clinical practice, they are very limited sets of tests are there that we use in a day-to-day life. And in your laboratory learning also, you will be learning only 6 biochemical properties, not all. Here some of the important gram stain property, some of the important biochemical properties are indole production, whether they are producing indole or not. Methyl red and Box-Proskauer, we say MR and BP test. Citrate utilization test. Hydrogen sulfide production test. Whether they are motile or not, motility test. Urea hydrolysis test. That is a test for enzyme, whether they are producing urease enzyme or not. Or test for production of enzyme urease. Sugar fermentation or gas production test. Or here we are using different sets of sugar. That could be glucose, that could be lactose, that could be sucrose, or more than that sugars, whether they are able to ferment or they are able to oxidatively utilize the sugars. That test we can do. And after fermentation, whether they are able to produce gas or not, that test we do. And oxidase test, these all tests we do, and you have to understand in laboratory. And in coming class we'll be talking details of all these tests. In all these tests you must be able to identify what is that test look like, what is the basis of that test, and how that test is used to identify the organism. That means if you know the principle of the test, and you are able to understand or recognize the bacteria using that principle. So you should be able to recognize the test, you should be able to recognize positive or negative, you should be able to define principle of the test, and you should be able to interpret. If this is the color, the possible organism is this and that, a list. If this is the color, it is negative or it is positive, and possible organism is this and that. That you should be able to define, and we'll be talking in detail about this test in coming classes. Now, just for introduction, how this test look like, we'll just see the picture. We won't talk more on it. We just see the picture. These are different organisms that you will be seeing. We'll be talking. See here, just an these steps how we identify the organism. As we have discussed here, for the first and foremost thing is colony characteristic in particular culture media. Now, whenever you are describing colony characteristic, you must say what medium is that. So first tell organism is in which media, then only define the colony characteristic, because certain properties are inhibited in certain media, and we may not see certain peculiar features of a bacteria in a particular media. If we culture Staphylococcus aureus in Mackenzie agar or in MHA, at the time we may not see hemolysis. In culture chocolate agar, we may not see hemolysis. So first define the media and colony characteristic, then do the gram stain. Gram positive, gram negative. For gram negative bacteria, we go for these all sets of biochemical test. And for gram positive, we go for catalase and coagulase. And for gram negative, if it is suspected pseudomonas, then we again test for oxidase also. Okay, we'll come to this point in coming classes in detail. Then finally, with use of all these properties, we can identify the organism. This is the TSI. These are the different changes in TSI after culture of organism. See, somewhere yellow on the top, yellow on the bottom, again yellow on the top, yellow on the bottom. Difference is here, gas is trapped, that's why there is crack. Here no gas. Here again top is pink or red in color, but down you can see in bottom area it is yellow in color. Here it is dark in black in color, but top is again purple in color. Similarly here, this is reddish in color, here it is pink in color. So these are different changes that we can see in triple sugar iron agar. This is methyl lead test. Unused are usually look like this color, but after used they will be like this color. In methyl red, see the positive are red in color. In BP again positive are brick red in color, both are similar, and they are used simultaneously because organisms that are methyl red positive will never be BP test positive. If BP positive, then methyl red negative. So they are used simultaneously, MRBP. This is the citrate. Unused will be greenish in color, but after culture, if it is negative, there will be no change. If it is positive, there will be change in blue. This is the urease test. If it is negative or unused, it will be yellowish in color. While it is used and some bacteria is producing urease, then it will be pinkish in color. This is the same thing, urease test. Sometimes the slant may not be there. It may be like no without slant. This is the urease test. This is the SIM. We say it as a SIM, where we can detect H2S production, hydrogen sulfide production, indole production, and motility. This is semi-solid media. Motile organism will be like this. Hedge growth will be there, while non-motile will be like this, straight. And where it is inoculated, only there will be growth. Around that there will be no growth. Here this picture is not clear. Otherwise, this one is motile, this is non-motile. Here one more strip you can see added. This is the indole strip. So if organism is producing indole, it is pink in color. If not, it is yellowish in color. If organism is producing H2S, then it is black in color. Otherwise, there is no black in color. This is the oxidase test. Oxidase discs are available. If they are positive, then they will change the disc color purple. While if they are not producing oxidase enzyme, then they are not changing the color. This is the catalase. Again, if organism is producing catalase, then H2O if they are kept in H2O, they will make this kind of evanescence. If negative, then there will be no change at all. Similarly, same thing if we do in the test tube. This is the H2O. You can see evanescence, gas balls coming out in case of catalase positive, and not coming out, no change at all in case of catalase negative. This is same for coagulase. We can test in slide also. We can test in tube also. Coagulase positive, they will form the clumping like this in a tube, in a slide, and no change at all in negative, as you see over here. Okay, this is the different biochemical test that you have seen. Now I told you we have talked detail about columnar morphology, we have talked detail of staining, and we have talked detail about how to describe the columnar morphology. So biochemical test, we have just touched the biochemical test. So it's your job to read at home the biochemical properties, what is the use, what is the principle, and how to interpret. And in coming class, we'll be talking detail about all these tests. So just read so that it will be easier to discuss while talking in coming classes. So at the time we'll be again seeing these pictures. So we'll continue in coming class. And after that, shortly revision we'll take one more class, and at the time we'll again just summarize the whatever we have discussed in the form of MCQ or questionnaire. We'll just make arrange of that. So we'll continue. We'll come in another class to discuss about identification of bacteria and remaining portion. So any queries, anything that you want to ask? I'm waiting for you. Any queries, anything that you want to ask? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you got what I am saying, whatever we have discussed, and